There comes a razor-thin instant, a breath between heartbeats, when you're confronted, called out, accused, questioned, or framed. In that fleeting second, most people default to their conditioning. They rush to defend themselves. That's not what I meant. You misunderstood. I'm not like that. It sounds reasonable, noble even. It feels like the responsible thing to do. But in truth, it's the exact moment you surrender. Because when you defend yourself, you admit weakness, the weakness of needing to explain. And in the arena of power, perception is not just important, it is everything. When others see you scramble to justify, they don't see honesty. They see blood in the water. They sense an opening. And once they sense it, the game is already lost. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this long before most ever grasped it. The moment you defend, you diminish. The moment you stand still, the world bends to defend you. Defenses rarely persuade anyone. People don't believe explanations, they believe frames. And when you explain, you're playing on your opponent's turf. You're agreeing, unconsciously, that their accusations carry weight, that their judgment matters, that they have the right to demand an answer from you. That's the trap. The instant you fall into it, you are no longer controlling the narrative. They are. Even if your explanation is flawless, you still appear guilty because desperation is the scent of weakness, and explanations smell of desperation. The strong don't scramble. They allow silence to burn. They let accusations hang in the air, untouched. Why? Because the one who answers first concedes control of the frame. The one who waits turns the attack back into a mirror. Instead of being on trial, you force the accuser to look unstable, over-emotional, obsessive. And once they are exposed, the audience begins to shift. Perception flips. The power slides back to you. Most people defend themselves out of a hunger to be understood. They believe if they just say enough, repeat enough, clarify enough, they'll be vindicated. But vindication is not power, it's therapy. Power is not about being understood. Power is about controlling perception. You don't want clarity, you want dominance, respect, untouchability. When you're accused of being cold, arrogant, manipulative, selfish, whatever the label may be, the ordinary person panics, rushes to deny it. And that rush proves everything. It shows you care. It shows you've been rattled. It shows their words found a mark. But the Machiavellian player knows reaction is surrender. Silence, on the other hand, is strategy. Mystery is protection. The less you say, the more others project. And what they project is usually far more powerful than anything you could have explained. Think of the people who've left the deepest impression on you. Not the loudest talkers, not the ones always trying to prove themselves, but the ones who held silence like a blade, the ones who stared instead of speaking, the ones who, when attacked, didn't flinch, didn't explain, didn't break. That stillness creates doubt in everyone else. It makes others question themselves, question their own motives, question whether they've miscalculated. That's why Machiavelli would whisper the truth few dare admit. The one who explains lowers himself. The one who withholds forces the world to explain him. And in that uncertainty, he grows larger than life. When someone accuses you, the silence becomes unbearable, not for you, but for them. They expected a fight. They wanted to see you bleed. Instead, they see stillness. They hear nothing. And that nothing echoes louder than words. They start filling in the silence themselves. They repeat their jab. They over-explain. They look for validation from the crowd. And with each attempt, they appear weaker, more desperate, more unhinged. You didn't defend yourself, but now everyone is questioning them. Who looks guilty now? Not you, them. Because social power isn't about truth, it's about calmness versus chaos. and the person who looks calm always seems like the one in control. Picture walking into a crowded room. Someone takes a shot at you. Maybe it's subtle, a little dig. Maybe it's direct, an outright insult. Everyone turns to see what you'll do. The amateur defends. The Machiavellian? He does nothing. He doesn't even blink. No counterattack, no nervous laugh, no smirk. Just stillness. Suddenly the room is not watching the accusation, they're watching the lack of reaction, and silence becomes louder than the insult itself. They begin to whisper, "Why didn't he react? Does he know something we don't? Is he above this? Did that attack make him stronger?" Without saying a word, you've bent the social frame around you. And the accuser, who wanted the spotlight, is now drowning in it. This principle scales. In a business meeting, someone undermines you with a sly comment. "I'm not sure your plan is thought through," or "He always has these big ideas." The insecure rush to justify. They lean forward. They explain, defend, clarify, and the whole room feels their nervousness. But the Machiavellian operator? He leans back. He waits. He lets the silence weigh heavy. And if he does speak, it's not in defense. It's a redirection. "Let's hear your strategy then." Suddenly, the challenger must perform. They must step into the spotlight they tried to throw on you. Now they are under scrutiny. Silence has shifted the weight. Their casual jab just became their own burden. In relationships, the same principle is even more potent. Imagine your partner accusing you. "You don't care about me anymore." The instinct of most is panic explanations, reassurances, long speeches about love. But every explanation validates the frame. Every reassurance signals desperation. The Machiavellian doesn't play that game. He doesn't argue. He lets the weight of the words hang in the air. Then, with calm steadiness, he replies, "That's not how I see it." No emotion, no elaboration, no justification. Now the accuser is forced to feel their own drama echo back on them. They wonder if they overreacted, if they came across too emotional, too needy. Because the Machiavellian holds not just silence, but tempo, and whoever controls the tempo controls the dynamic. There is an even colder move: absence. Someone insults you online, in public, anywhere, and you don't respond at all. No reply, no block, no acknowledgement, just disappearance. Your silence lingers like a mirror. They keep talking to themselves. They keep trying to bait you. And the longer they fail, the weaker they look. Because the average person feeds on emotional validation, even in conflict. Deny them that, and they wither. They spiral. They keep posting. They look obsessed. Meanwhile, you remain still, untouchable. They burn themselves out in a storm of their own making. You win not by defending yourself, but by never showing up to the battle. And when you do choose to respond, you can go further than silence. You can invert. Take the accusation and twist it into proof of their insecurity. Someone calls you arrogant. You smile and say, "Strange how confidence unsettles people." Someone accuses you of being manipulative. You reply, "Only those who can't be influenced ever say that." Someone calls you fake. You shrug. That's what people always say when they stop getting what they want. Now you've flipped the attack entirely. They are the ones scrambling to explain. Their accusation has exposed their weakness, not yours. That's not just defense, that's judo. That's turning their own emotional energy into their public collapse. Machiavelli called this the turn of the blade. Never meet the sword with a shield. Step aside. Let them fall on their own steel. The world teaches you to defend your reputation, to clear your name, to explain yourself. But Machiavelli saw the trap. The moment you chase innocence, you admit guilt. The true strategist doesn't explain. He carries himself as though explanation is beneath him. Too composed to be rattled, too elevated to care, too certain to need to clarify. And gradually, the attackers reveal themselves. They appear jealous, reactive, insecure, obsessed. Because the more you defend, the more it looks like you have something to defend. The more you ignore, the more dangerous people assume you must be. And assumption, not truth, is where real power is born. Most people mistake power for proving themselves, proving they're right, proving they're good, proving they're not what others say they are. But the Machiavellian smiles at this, because the second you try to prove anything, you've already validated the other person's judgment. You've accepted their authority, and when you do that, you've handed them the leash. Imagine being at a dinner table or a gathering, and someone jabs. You always act like you know everything, or guess humility isn't your strength. The amateur tries to smooth it over. They laugh nervously. Or worse, they explain. And everyone watching can see the blow landed. The defense confirmed it. The Machiavellian does something entirely different. He pauses. He lets silence expand for 2 beats. He scans the room, not with anger, not with offense, but with amused detachment. And maybe, just maybe, he drops a line, "Interesting take," or "You seem emotional today," or nothing at all, just a slow, steady gaze. The effect is devastating. The accuser fidgets. They look around for backup. They start justifying their joke. Suddenly, they are the one under judgment. The crowd shifts. Without lifting a finger, you made them appear small. In the digital world, this power move is amplified. Online, the crowd is bigger, faster, hungrier. Someone calls you toxic, manipulative, fake. The weak rush to issue explanations, apologies, walls of text. But Machiavelli's wisdom says otherwise. Don't defend, distort. Don't play their game, rewrite it. Someone accuses you online, you post, "People always call you dangerous when they can't control you." Instantly, the frame has shifted. You didn't defend. You reframed. Their accusation looks bitter. You look untouchable. And the crowd doesn't remember the accusation, they remember the confidence. That's not damage control. That's narrative domination. There are 3 weapons sharper than defense: silence, deflection, and inversion. Silence exposes the attacker. Deflection reframes the entire story. Inversion makes their words their own downfall. Master these, and you stop playing the game of defense altogether. You stop being pulled into frames designed to weaken you. Instead, you become the frame, the one others measure themselves against. The one whose silence speaks louder than their noise, the one whose detachment is more intimidating than any explanation could be. That is the art. That is the law. And that is the reason the truly powerful never defend. They simply watch as the world defends them. Sometimes the most devastating responses are not long explanations, but sharp cuts, short truths that close the conversation instantly. Someone throws at you, "You're too full of yourself." You reply with composure. Confidence rattles the insecure. They sneer, "You're fake." You calmly say, "I don't owe anyone authenticity on their terms." They jab. You act like you're above everyone. You return, not above, just not aligned with the crowd. Notice these aren't attempts to clear your name. They don't sound defensive. They sound untouchable. They're not about pleading innocence. They're about declaring presence. That's the essence of strategy. The Machiavellian doesn't beg to be seen as virtuous. He dares people to call him dangerous, and he grows taller in the shadows of their judgment. Here's what happens when you refuse to defend. Your opponents unravel. They came expecting a fight, ready to watch you twist and explain. Instead, they swing at smoke. Their energy has nowhere to land, so they escalate. They grow louder, more animated, more reckless, and with every desperate swing, they reveal their insecurities to the entire room. The irony? The more dramatic they become, the calmer you appear. And the calmer you appear, the more powerful you seem. They don't realize it, but they're performing their own defeat. That's the true endgame, not destroying your enemy with force, but letting their obsession with you consume them while you remain still. Many believe that being misunderstood is the biggest danger. It isn't. Being predictable is worse. A man constantly rushing to explain himself is easy to read, easy to provoke, easy to corner. His patterns are obvious. But the one who remains calm while misunderstood holds mystery. Mystery breeds caution. People second-guess how to approach you because they don't know what you'll do next. Predictability invites manipulation. Ambiguity commands respect. And Machiavelli understood this before most. If you cannot be both feared and loved, choose fear. And if you cannot even be feared, at least be confusing. Because confusion makes people hesitate. Hesitation means you've already taken the upper ground. Let's strip away the last illusion. You don't need a polished, squeaky clean reputation to dominate. What you need is a formidable one. A good reputation makes people expect you to be agreeable, tame, and easy to predict. A strong reputation makes people tread lightly. They may not adore you. They may not even trust you fully, but they will think twice before moving against you. That's what emerges when you stop defending yourself. Your reputation stops being about what people think of you and starts being about what people fear you might do. Your silence becomes heavy. Your stillness feels intentional. Every pause looks like a choice. And suddenly, even what you don't say carries weight. The highest level isn't silence, it's presence. An aura so steady, so grounded, so unmoved by pettiness that accusations don't even register. They don't bounce off you, they vanish before they reach you. And this doesn't come from being numb. It comes from design. From deliberately training yourself to stop explaining, to stop craving validation, to stop justifying. Once you cross that threshold, your very existence is your defense. You walk into a room and people feel it. Nothing can knock you off balance. That's when power stops being effort and becomes atmosphere. Think about the rare individuals you've encountered who never justify themselves. They don't post essays to clear their name. They don't argue back against critics. They don't fight to be understood. And yet their presence carries weight. Why? Because silence breeds myth. People project strength onto those who don't explain. They assume you must know something they don't. They assume you're dangerous, calculated, untouchable. And it's that assumption, not your words, that inspires respect and caution. Machiavelli cared little about being perceived as good. What mattered to him was control. And the one who never defends owns the frame of perception, even when surrounded by rumors, slander, or lies. Here's the paradox. The more you defend, the lonelier you look. Because when you argue for yourself, no one feels the need to step in. They let you sweat. But if you hold steady, detached, unbothered, the psychology shifts. People begin to defend you on their own. They say, "That was unnecessary." They whisper, "He didn't deserve that." They murmur, "Why attack someone who isn't even responding?" And just like that, your restraint turns the crowd into your army. The best shield is not the one you hold, it's the shield others lift for you, without you asking. That's leverage. That's how influence works, not by demanding loyalty, but by earning defense through stillness. How do you build this fortress? Not overnight. You lay it brick by brick. First, you stop reacting to obvious provocations. Insults meant to bait you, leave them untouched. Your lack of response shows they never pierced the surface. Second, you respond to indirect digs not with anger, but with serene confusion. Is that how you see it? Delivered in calm neutrality, disarms the emotional charge. Third, close exchanges with finality instead of feeding the fire. Noted. Okay. Think what you want. Time will reveal. Each phrase locks the door. It ends the interaction without inviting another round. That's how you train people not to push further. Mastering this art requires more than words. It's in your posture, your expression, your breath. The Machiavellian doesn't flinch. His eyes don't dart. His shoulders don't tighten. He is still. Stillness is armor. And when you remain immovable while others twitch, rant, or unravel, your power expands without a word, because people fear what they cannot predict. You're not erratic, you're unreadable. You reflect their instability back at them like a mirror. Machiavelli would remind you, the most formidable man is not the one who strikes first. It is the one who never needs to strike at all. Eventually, attacks diminish not because you silence them, but because everyone knows they won't land. Your silence says, I don't play defense. I let my enemies crumble under their own weight. Strength reacts. Immunity doesn't even acknowledge. And immunity is the Machiavellian ideal. You don't win arguments, you make them impossible. You stop living under the court of public approval. You exist above it. The only judgment that matters is your own. At this point, you no longer operate in defense, you operate in definition. You define the tone, you define the frame, you define the silence itself. And people feel it. They sense the certainty behind your eyes, the gravity in your stillness, the quiet danger in your presence. You don't resist anymore, you command. And once you reach this level, the room changes. Opponents quiet down. Observers speak less. Your name alone carries weight. Not because you fought for it, but because you never begged to explain it. Never defending doesn't mean never speaking. It means every word you do speak shifts the balance. Every silence you hold multiplies your presence. And when that happens, you become the rarest figure of all, the man who answers to no one, and in that, the man everyone answers to.